Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Brian Ritter. I'm the Executive Director of the Mercury Chamber Orchestra, and I'm joined on stage by Antoine Plante, of course, the Artistic Director and founder of Mercury. We are so thrilled to have you here with us tonight. And on behalf of all of us at Mercury, Happy New Year, and welcome to the second half of this really fabulous season. We kick things off this evening in a very, very special way, because what all of us are going to be experiencing together tonight is a world premiere. And this is a play in which I would describe music playing a central role, or being a central character. This is a play entitled Chopin's Letters, and it was created by Antoine and Denny Plante, Antoine's brother. Denny couldn't be with us tonight. He may be watching at home, so we want to give him a special welcome. But what we wanted to do over our time together here before the performance is just to talk a little bit about what we're all going to get to experience in this very, very special night of music and drama. I wanted to start off by asking Antoine to talk a little bit about the concert experience, because this is something that is really central to what we try to do at the Mercury Chamber Orchestra, and really since its founding, focusing very much on creating an experience that's very welcoming, very accessible, very intimate. And this is something that has journeyed through the years, and of course the experiences that we have here in the Cullen are a certain type of experience. Our neighborhood series, which is also a big part of what we do across the community, is also a very different type of experience. But of course, programming has a very big role in that. And so, Antoine, I just wanted to have you maybe talk a little bit about how programming and the concert experience has evolved for you over the years, and how we kind of land on a concert like tonight.
All right, thank you. Well, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Yes, I mean, I think you're right, Brian, in this journey or an experiment in a way that Mercury is for me and for the artists and for the team that put things together. Is one of the main things we talk about is how can we program concerts, music. It's what we do in a way that that is accessible, that is moving, and that will, reach the heart of our audience. And so this type of programs are, I would say, quite unique. And the goal behind them, these multimedia program, is exactly that: is how can we bring music and make it more moving, more accessible, using the venues, using the technology that we have. When you just go and sit down and look at a group of musicians playing Mozart, divertimento movement in a gymnasium of a high school is quite a different experience than putting it in a theater with special lighting and a set and perhaps a story that goes about it that sets the music itself. Both are important. We love to go in gymnasium of a high school to play music, but we also like to be part of kind of the, in a way, the evolution of the concert experience. Concert experience, people that come to sit in a music theater, has changed through the years. It's not the same experience that you have now than people going to Beethoven symphonies was, and the experience in a way is different from the beginning of the 20th century, and it has still evolved. I would say that often it may have slowed down a little bit between 1960 and now in symphonic music in this country. There's a code, and there is an expectation that has been set. The kind of not the extreme, but kind of the big frame is, a concert overture, a concerto, and a symphony in a concert hall. And you go and the concerto has 3 movements, the overture is just 1 movement, intermission, and so on. And it's a really beautiful, structured program, but it can't stop there. And with these type of programs, that's what we're trying to kind of keep moving in different directions. So in this case, taking the music of Chopin, which really is a piano composer, and putting it in for string ensemble to start, is something that is not expected. For me, I love these melody, I love this music. I know that I don't have opportunities to hear recital of solo piano Chopin here in Houston, and I want to share that music with my community. And then, but I really felt that it needed a context, and so in a way that's what we're creating tonight. It's kind of a context to bring this beautiful music in a different way.
I am really always very fascinated by the creative process for how you come to a program like this. In this case, you're collaborating with your brother, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about maybe what the spark of the idea was to have a program such as this, and then to bring what we're going to experience is a combination of narrative, incredibly beautiful music. There'll be some stagecraft as well, but how do you bring all of those elements together, and how do you work with your collaborators to create something special like this?
Yes, so I mean the broader story is right at first, Mercury, from some of the first season, we started putting operas, chamber operas together, Baroque operas together, and I really fell in love with this stage experience. And not that I want to do it all the time, but from time to time to have something that is crafted in a different way than just, again, this regular concert experience is something that I find that I love and that I want to share with our community. What happened in this process is we did a lot of these small chamber Baroque operas. And it was at a moment where we were thinking about, okay, so what else can we do? Mozart, can we do this and that? And opera is a really difficult thing to put together because it really was where the art form kind of exploded in extravagance, and you have to have lots of people, and to do it well, you need to, rehearse a lot and have tons of resources put in things that are not musicians and music, which really is our core. And so this multimedia program kind of grew out of that. Is how can we still do stage work that can be powerful, that can bring the special things of, at some point there's a blue light on a solo violinist that was prepared in a certain way that gets quiet, intimate, and because of this little image that was put in context, it just is really moving. These type of things that stagecraft gives access to. How can we do that? And so we started creating our own, in a way, I mean, it's not really mini operas, because it's not always singing, but it's stage work that fits the scale of our organization, of Mercury. Mercury is a chamber orchestra, and it's not an opera company. And so in this case, we did several of them. In the pandemic, we actually stepped away from it. For the most part, just keeping some things that you might remember when we were at the Brown Theater, kind of, dealing still with lighting and projections, but it was back. I wanted to create a new work. So the world, the sky is the limit, right? And they're thinking about, so what can be interesting? Again, I loved the music of Chopin, and I thought it would be feasible to take some of these beautiful melody and put them for a string ensemble. And then the concept is, so how do we do this? Well, the first idea was just all the correspondences that Chopin had. He was a prolific letter writer. He corresponded with back with his family when he lived in Paris. He had all these famous artists, friends that he would write letter every day to. And so the idea was, well, how can we find kind of some of these letters and just read a letter that he wrote, and put a song that fits with it. And so that was kind of step number one, and we kind of went with it, thinking, well, that's I like this concept. This is romantic, the concept of this, these great characters writing to each other. But when it came down to the reality of it, Chopin's correspondence were more about him being mad at his publisher, not paying him enough, and asking his friends to make sure that his house is clean before he comes back to Paris. And so you go and you have these books of correspondences and
real sexy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So not super sexy, and I just hit a little bit of a wall, thinking, well, this is not going to work. But by then, I've learned a lot more about Chopin's life and his friends and his relationship with Georges Sand, who is this French novelist, really famous. I mean, we know about her as a francophone because she was an important romantic novelist, and he had this great relationship with her. And she's a really fantastic character. And so I reached out to my brother Denis, who is a playwright. He wrote several plays, kind of told him what I was thinking about, and we have this house up in Quebec where I retreat for the summer, and I do a lot of my programming and work of that level in the summer there. And so I spent several days then with Denis. We kind of went into who Chopin was. We listened to his music. We talked about this and that. And then several weeks later, Denis had come up with this short play that we would use to set Chopin's music in play. So it was kind of a little bit of a journey to get to where we're at, and then from there we just take it off and bring all the other things. Of course, the selection of music, all the arrangements, the selection of the team, and so on.
You mentioned George Sand being a pivotal character in tonight's experience. what did you learn about her? What were some of the surprises, and ultimately, kind of what role does she play in the storytelling tonight?
Georges Sand was a really important character in Paris society. And Paris society is 1830s and 1840s. Is this kind of this salon hangout, and everybody that we know from French, but also larger European community is there. So they were friends with Franz Liszt, the great pianist, Alexandre Dumas, who wrote the Three Musketeers and Le Comte de Monte Cristo, Victor Hugo, Maupassant, the great painter Delacroix. It's kind of all these people that would just hang out on Saturday night, just like at my house every Saturday night. But so there's this really rich scene. So when Chopin kind of walks into that, and Georges Sand is really attracted to this somewhat enigmatic character coming from Poland, and so we start digging about it. And of course, as far as literature goes, literature and beautiful words, she is much more rich than Chopin, who his language was music. So it was really attractive for us to kind of research that angle. Of course, it helps that she is a really strong character. She decided to dress like a man. At first, the kind of a way that it happens, that she was partnering with a friend, a male friend, to write stories in like a weekly bulletin that were published in Paris, and they got published together. And at some point, the guy realized that really she was doing all the work. She knew that if she would reveal her identity as a woman, editors wouldn't be interested anymore, because women were not being published at that level. So she kind of took up a man's name, Georges Sand, and that's kind of how she developed her thing. Now, as a side of that, she decided to start dressing like a man, which was quite shocking. She also loved cigars, and she, by herself, she came from a wealthy family. She married earlier on. It didn't work out. They had kind of a strained relationship for a long time, but a little before she met Chopin, she actually divorced. And so we're talking French society in 1830, to actually go through a divorce is something that is quite rare. And she writes about all these, even probably more interesting is her novels all about these questions of gender, of how, what is the different role of gender, why. One of her famous novels is about a girl being raised as a boy so that she could inherit the princedom, and so when you think about how important these discussions started then in 1830s in Paris, and how this character is really fascinating and a precursor of a lot of what our society today live and experience. And so anyways, so all this, we kind of discovered this, and we were able to I think play on that a little bit in order to bring this, again, just this music, to give it context.
We should say about how this remarkable woman is being brought to life tonight, but one of the things that I always find fascinating about doing a production like what we'll experience tonight is that in a way, Mercury as an orchestra, as an organization, gets to, for a few weeks, become really like a theater company in a way, and it's really fascinating to go over into another part of our industry, or the performing arts. But maybe you could talk a little bit about this wonderful Houston actress that we have found to bring Georges Sand to life, and what that process has been like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for us, so it started actually because when we decided to do that, I thought, well, let's have a French actress. Because we'll have this nice accent, French actress speaking in English. At first, we actually even considered doing it in French because my brother wrote the play in French. And then I thought, well, maybe a Quebecois actress. That's where I have a lot of contacts in the arts community in Quebec. You should see my Saturday night concert in Quebec, dinner in Quebec. Even more actress than here in Houston, but. So I thought, well, but it became more complicated. There's always these issues that bringing international talent that we didn't want to go through the trouble for this thing. So we basically reached out to our friends in Houston, actors from the Alley Theater, our old friend at Stages Theater, with whom we used to office in the same building, and a quite simple process of doing auditions and sending notices out. This is not our world, so we don't even know how to audition actresses. I know how to audition musicians, but I don't know what the kind of the rules are and these things. But we figure it out and we try just to be respectful, and that's most important. But so we found this one actress, a young actress who was just performing at the Alley Theater for the Christmas story. So she was really busy with that in December. We've met, we auditioned in November. We've met for a few days. My brother then he came by mid-December to work with Donabella, and we discovered a really fantastic artist who embraced this production. It's a lot because you have to do it. In this case, it's one actor. So you have to do it all by yourself. You have to interact with the music. She turned out being quite a talented karaoke singer, I've learned. You can go and look her up on Facebook. She actually is a great singer, and that helped. Her quality, her facility with music. But it's always wonderful to open the door to different things because we always learn. It's wonderful to get to reach out to other organizations, to get new artists coming in, but also this this collaboration with the other artisans, crafts that make this art come in with the lighting design. We have somebody the assistant director who knows the vocabulary and knows the craft of acting as well, and so on, and all the different technical aspect of it. It really is a different preparation than if we show up to play some Vivaldi concertos. That's for sure.
It's truly a remarkable creative team that you've assembled, and a real joy watching all of you work and bring this to life over the last few weeks, really few months. And we're almost out of time, but I want to have you maybe talk a little bit about the challenge of looking at Chopin's repertoire, and this is a composer that mainly composed just for the piano. Has a few concertos and a few orchestral things, but really just extensive repertoire, solo piano. So how do you select those works, and then how do you orchestrate them? How do you bring those to life in such a dramatically different way?
Yeah, well, so Chopin, to his friends and supporters, they really wanted for him to write for other things than piano, because that was just one thing that composer did. Really, even then, the big thing was to write operas. So like, Chopin, Frédéric, why don't you write an opera? You're so good. And why don't you write symphonies? And but he just resisted to that. He knew his comfort zone, and he knew where to expand even that comfort zone, but using just the tools that he wanted to use. So yeah, his repertoire is really much piano. He composed 2 concertos that he would play, but and then he didn't like to play in concert halls. He did it for a while. At some point, he stopped. He liked to play the piano along with friends and their guests in a small room. That really was that's what he wanted to do as a performer. But and his compositions kind of reflects that. He just was not into these grand things. So, which is why we don't have, even though it's one of this really wonderful music, we don't have access to it that much, because when we go to concerts, we go to symphony, or we go to a chamber quartet, or so on, and it's solo piano. Recitals are rare. As of how do we select it, then by then we have the script, and we know kind of the type of music that we want to put in there. The script was built in a way that it would allow different type and allow different places for music. They kind of go together, but we go and just listens to mazurkas over mazurkas and nocturnes over nocturnes, and just selects things. I wanted to bring some of his most beautiful and familiar music, and then we take that and we put it on the technical side. We put it on the computer, and we start splitting the piano notes into 9 voices that we have tonight, in a way that takes tons of time, and there's a lot of artistic decision that goes into it. But it's one of the easiest process of all that, because the music is there, and you just assign the different voices to different instruments, and it creates something new. It creates something that you didn't hear necessarily in that way, and it creates a challenge where there were none, and it creates beauty where maybe it was hidden.
Well, I think we'll leave it at that, but I want to congratulate you, Antoine, and Denny on this great world premiere tonight, and of course, Donabella Litton, our featured actress this evening, all of our musicians, and our entire creative team for bringing tonight to life. And we so much appreciate all of you being here. I think you're going to have a really marvelous experience tonight. Please enjoy the show, and we'll see you afterwards.
Thank you.